Welcome, football fans. Buckle up for another hard-hitting episode of Player 54 Podcast, an independent show focused solely on alternative and opportunity football. From a sunny Southwest Florida studio, here is your host, Michael Lathrop.
Hello, football fans. This is episode 133, Syndicate Have Their Man. Welcome back to another episode of Player 54 Podcast. Today, we welcome Continental Football League's Texas Syndicate head coach Michael Coleman to discuss his role with the team and more. Welcome, Coach Coleman. I appreciate taking the time out of your schedule to appear on the show to discuss your role as head coach with the Texas Syndicate of the reintroduced Continental Football League and possibly more.
It's been a blessed night. It's been a lot, but adversity builds character. So that's why my mom always said I'm going to be one heck of a character. So it's finally great to see you guys, and finally great to get on the call with you tonight.
It's a pleasure. Coach, I believe it would be beneficial for those tuning in if you could just take a moment to share, the Cliff Notes version, kind of a shortened thing because we don't have your entire life here to sit down and share with everybody. But, the version of your football journey, how it has shaped you in football, but more importantly, the man that you are today.
Well, just to go back, you got a lot of young men that are walking around feeling like they're broken when they're not, and I was one of them. I remember when I started playing football, and the coaches that used to be around me, I thought they were a part of a cult because they all had these big diamond rings. And every last coach that I had these big diamond rings. And I remember at a portion when I had this big hole in me when I was in high school, right before I got to high school, my mom and my dad had a nasty divorce. And when he divorced my mom, he divorced me too. And that left a hole in me so big. And here comes these coaches with these big diamond rings, which later I found out they were Super Bowl rings. And God just knew what he was doing when he stationed these angels, these Super Bowl champion coaches, players and coaches in my life, like Earl Christie, Larry Little. Fast forward to now, the one that's active the most, Doug Williams, and the list goes on. And he stationed these angels in my life. Coach Ingram, Coach Green. I had God bless Coach Otis Gray, Coach Cook, and the list goes on. And so he circled me with angels that were coaches, and football became my platform. It became a catalyst for me. It became a big brother. It ushered me in to make me who I am today. Not just a man of God, but a man that has apathy, the man that feels each other's pain, and use football as a catalyst to be the perfect ambassador. If you ever wanted the perfect storm, football is that ambassador. I was blessed at the moment. It wasn't just myself in high school. I played with Isaac Bruce, Frank Sanders, Otis Mounds. And the irony is I went to church with Zach and Henry Crockett, Tyrant Marriott. We all went to church. So when we played the Soul Bowl, Dillon High School versus Ely High School, we were Saturday, and here comes Sunday, we'll sit in church together. So, it was crazy that, Lorenzo White lived across the street. We have Low White, grew up around Benny and Brian Blades and all these guys, all these great, stellar, superstar athletes. But we all had one thing in common. We had coaches that really cared, coaches that would knock on our doors, coaches that really cared, not just for us on the field. We saw him more off the field than we saw him on the field.
Well, Coach, you have, the press release tells us, but I'd rather hear it from you a little bit more. The the NFL experience, the Arena Football League experience, the international football experience. Why don't you share that with people a little bit so they get to know a little bit more of that bit of your background?
Well, I was blessed. I entered the fellowship, the NFL coaching fellowship, but my coaching associated with the pedigree from NFL came from those great coaches. It came from Earl Christie. It came from Larry Little. It came from all the great coaches, Coach Green, Coach Ingram. That's where the pedigree really comes from. That's where you get a whole side of the game. Like I sat down with Coach Christie and we were talking about Super Bowl III. And he told me, Super Bowl III never happened. They had a cohesive unit. That's why I have so much more respect for Joe Namath and the rest of the guys at that moment. When Super Bowl III, when they came together, they were forced to come together as a team. I was blessed to play in the International Football League. We started with the Roanoke Rush. My God, and it just transcended from there. I went to Germany to the Bremerhaven team in Bremerhaven. And, when you go and play international, you become a player coach. And so coming back here and having the opportunity to play arena football, played with John Forcade. It was called the NIFL, and the split with the three super indoor football league, the IFL, the IPFL, the PIFL split. Half the teams went and formed the National Indoor Football League, and half the team went and formed the Deuce, Arena 2. So Brett Favre at the time had bought his dad the team, the Biloxi Fire Dogs, and you had notable names, John Forcade, and the list goes on. That's where Michael Lewis came out of with the Louisiana Monroe Bayou Beasts. I actually played with the Tupelo Fire Ants. Russell Copeland was one of our teammates. Kevin Cooper that passed away, Super Coop that played with the Vikings. And we were all together. We played against John Forcade. And then later on, I left there and I actually went to the Mobile Seagulls. And then I've had stint with the Beaumont Drillers, and the list goes on of some of these teams. So when I was with the Drillers, I was also a player coach / I was doing GM work also in the front office. And so I had an opportunity to not just play coach, but also become a GM and have GM responsibilities. And so moving on, I went to Evansville, Indiana. I played for the Evansville Blue Cats. And so we took that with us. And in passing, like Matt LaFleur, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, I played against Matt. I know Matt. He was a journeyman quarterback in indoor football. So you see the connection, Matt Nagy, Sean Payton, and the list goes on and on. Jay Gruden. And these are some of the coaches that had the experience. So at the time, I started talking and had a good friend, Will McClay. Will was the head coach of the Dallas Desperados, and he was on staff with the Cowboys coaching. And Will took the passing game from arena football to the Dallas Cowboys. Because you understand, 8-on-8 is the perfect storm for a 3-4 defense, because 8-on-8 -3. And so when we met Kurt Warner and those guys, because understand, I met him, then ended up my high school teammate, Isaac Bruce, was his receiver and MVP also in the Super Bowl. So we look at the game transcended from indoors to outdoors. And that's why Kurt Warner was able to do what he did in 3 years, what it took some people 12 and a half years to do. And he got that gold jacket. So it's the relevancy of indoor arena football has made the NFL and all football better. But it all points back to Canada. Because a lot of guys don't know, having the history of having guys that played in Canada, having evaluate guys, coaching them not just to play in the NFL, but playing the CFL first, then the NFL. Because people don't understand it's a bigger field. You have 110 yards from end zone, the end of the end zone to the end of the end zone, and 65 yards from sideline to sideline. And now you can go high motion, low motion, loop, zoom, bip. All these motions that are associated with indoor arena football, you see it now. Instead of going 4 downs, you go 3. Instead of having 40 seconds, you go 20 seconds. So you see the game is faster when you go to the CFL. It's not 11-on-11, it's 12-on-12. And so you look at the transcendence of the game, where the go fast come from. We all say, well, Al Lundy is the founder of the air raid. Air raid been around way before that. And some of the implementation, when you look at the Green Bay Packers, when you look at Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce, the whip routes, utilizing the tight end. Now tight end is just as relevant as a wide receiver. And typically your wide receiver is your biggest receiver. That's who you use for blocking, rub routes, all the above. So now imagine putting him back on tight end. You can run wheel routes, bench routes, whip routes, the pivot routes they call it. And so now you see that remnants of a go-fast offense with a hybrid defense. Now instead of playing typical four-man front, you can go 3-4-4. You can go 3-3-5. And that's how you combat this go-fast offense that you have now. So all of those experiences and stints that I've had within playing and coaching throughout the decades, Lord knows. And it started, my coaching experiences didn't just start when I played. It's, from amateur to professional, it started when I had those coaches as my mentors, as we talked football, and they showed me how to use it as a catalyst to where I am now. If that's make any sense.
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we are all the product of a lifetime of education, whether it's formal, whether it's not. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Well, Coach, let's fast forward it here a little bit, right? On October 17th, the Texas Syndicate announced you as their first head coach. When did Mr. Harrington and Mr. Workman first approach you about this opportunity?
Well, it started through a good friend of, I actually spoke to a good friend of mine, Damon Talbert, the owner of NFL Draft Diamonds. And, he's a great young man, mentored him, I'm in love with Christ. We have a personal relationship, so was Damon. And Damon has really helped hundreds, if not thousands of young men throughout the years go to the NFL. We just had another international player that just signed and another one that is getting ready to sign with the NFL. So Damon, I spoke to him and he was telling me about the International Football League, and it went through that. So after I spoke to him, he gave me the information. I reached out. And then that next morning, or the morning after, I get a phone call from Coach Doug Williams of the Washington Commanders. And I missed his call, and then I called him back. He said, look, I'm getting ready to go into a meeting, but I got a call, and he named Mr. Workman there and the team. And he said, I just wanted to make sure that was you. And I said, yes, it was. He said, don't worry. When I got out the street, I would call him back. And that's where it all started.
What drew you in particular to this role and ultimately deciding to accept it?
Well, Bill Walsh came out of the Continental Football League. The Continental Football League is significant because the crossover appeal that it had with the CFL and the National Football League. It had a crossover, and it was the perfect incubator for players and coaches. And they had a cohesive nature to where they have sub-markets, 5,000, 10,000 seat regional markets. Because think about it, with the premise that not everybody is going to play in the NFL. Not everybody is going to play in the CFL. Matter of fact, in the CFL, you only can have so many Americans on the team. You can only have so many Americans on the field on defense and so many Americans on the field on offense. And so the crossover that they had is similar to what we have now. And you look at the pioneer, Bill Walsh never played a down of football, but he's one of the greatest minds to ever coach the game. He is systemic when he's the model that everybody have. The gold standard, if you're coaching, he's here. He's the standard. You look in the encyclopedia, you're going to see him. He's at the top of the list. So this is the perfect storm because not everybody's going to play in the NFL. Not everybody's going to play in the CFL. Matter of fact, not everybody's going to play in the UFL. So you should have sub-leagues that are the perfect storm whether a player wants to go international to the CFL or stay at home, NFL or UFL. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I understand the whole system thing. Right? You look at, the end goal is always the dream, but
Right.
sometimes to obtain the dream, it's not just an easy hop, skip, and a jump there. Sometimes it takes a detour. There's a reason why the baseball system is, triple A, double A, single A, and you get down to rookie leagues. I mean, it keeps going, but it's all professional, but it is part of a system. It works for baseball. Hockey has it. I mean,
Right.
if we want to look into professional soccer across the globe, they have their own academies and they have their reserve teams. They have whatever, right? So there are multiple ways that it makes sense for player development. I know here
Right.
in the States, we rely heavily on college, whether it's for football, whether it's for basketball, but even we've seen the NBA develop the G League, right? So they have their development. So they're going to still draft people, but they're going to have that as well. We're seeing more and more of that. So to me, it comes to a point that only makes logical sense that the biggest sport, the mammoth being that the NFL is, doesn't have that. The Canadian Football League has existed, but it's not really that large. It's just, it's less than 10 teams. So it does come a point that if you have 30 some teams playing and less than 10 teams, and the game is a little bit different, it doesn't mean it can't. But I mean, like you said, even the American players, they are limited roster spots, so limited opportunity. When the vast majority of players that are being produced out of high school, out of college, are American players, it does limit us. So that's where the United Football League, that's where things like the Continental Football League do serve a purpose, a pathway that people now with NIL and the transfer portal that has significantly changed college football. Now, instead of having your programs, well, the reason why like Nick Saban and company have left the game is because they can't develop players anymore. It's tough to bring in the players. Freshmen may no longer be ready to actually start. We see that now. Freshmen, sophomores are out there, but they're not really developed in the way that they were developed before. So now there's going to be more of a need for it. So I get that. But we also have to kind of address everything is new. This is a new space. I'm not saying the United Football League hasn't been around for a moment because it came from a merger out of the XFL and USFL. But when you stop and look at this new space with the NIL, the transfer portal, right, changing the whole college landscape, and now we have a lot of newness. Whether it's the Continental Football League, whether it's the teams that are coming in, like now the Texas Syndicate. Football fans, players, everybody are curious, but they're also hesitant, right, to get behind these new teams and leagues. What can you tell the players and even the people of the greater Austin, Texas area as to what they can expect from you as a head coach in this space, your staff, which is yet to be fully, put together or yet to be announced, and the team that you're going to be fielding? What type of staff members are you looking for? What type of players are you looking for? What type of playbook? I mean, I'm throwing a lot at you, but what can they expect? This is all new, right? New league, new team, coach, there's arena, there's this. I mean, why, and why should fans get behind this? What can they expect from you?
Well, community. Well, first of all, God, in the sense of relationship, right? If we look at the NFL as the ultimate place to play, look at God as the ultimate friend, the ultimate relationship, first of all. What would Jesus do, right? In a lot of matter. And giving him the praise, having that relationship with him, first of all. The perfect ambassador. Look at the situation now. You mentioned NIL, name, likeness, image, right? What is the number one thing that is systemic? Brand awareness. When you look at the brand awareness now, what is the most valuable? We're now looking at talent competing with brand awareness. We're looking at viral presence and viral censorship more so than ever before. So it can exist together. It can exist within the Continental Football League. How? The perfect ambassador, using this as the catalyst for community, for cohesiveness, for togetherness, to build and lift. Also giving that fulfillment of young men and their dream off the field and their dreams on the field. Becoming that brand and having that brand competency to where it's competent now that in this atmosphere, you're not just touching the whole world. Anybody with a satellite uplink and can reach the World Wide Web, you can reach them with a brand, but you can reach them as a brand ambassador, as a human being, as a child of God, period, to do the right thing. Because understand, God is personal. He's a relationship, right? We look at football as what? The perfect relationship. There's no I in team. So you're bringing everybody there. They have an opportunity now, even on a shoestring budget, to come to a professional event. For people that have it on their bucket list, for that business that is struggling for viewership, this has become the perfect storm. So
You mentioned God, you mentioned
yes.
community,
Yes.
right? You mentioned those things. Let's look at the football.
Yes.
What
Development off the field.
rep? I mean, what type of brand of ball is Coach Coleman's brand of ball?
Fast paced.
And what is it that GM Mr. Harrington bringing into? I mean, so like what? I know what you're. So what are we expect? Fast paced and what else? What's this image that's being formed at this moment?
Community, right? We're looking at the perfect storm, building off the field, the hydration protocols, the ambassadorship, getting on the field, high paced football. But what you see in the CFL and the NFL, you're going to see it in this brand. It's going to be a mixture of it. It's going to be hybrid situations where you get in. You're going to see team camaraderie. You're going to see guys that are ready, prepared, and have fun. You won't see it as a business. You will see it as life transcending. People do. Remember the saying, if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. So you're able to perform at a high level because you're prepared. There's no second guessing because everybody wants to hit what? Autonomy, correct? You have cars that are self-driving for a reason. You give it a structure, you type in a direction, you type in a place to go, and they go there. Whatever adjustment on the way, they're prepared for the bumps and the blocks in the road. So you're not having broken shells when you're done. You have people that can step off the field, step in the boardroom, step on the corner, step in the store, open the door for someone in building, period. Builders, worker bees. And the brand is team camaraderie, high performance, taking the game to another level. You look at the NFL on special teams. It was a perfect incubator with the UFL. When the UFL started their kickoff protocol, because so many guys that were getting hurt on special teams. I mean, they have a revolving door. Now you look at the kickoff. Now the UFL becomes what? The perfect incubator for safe protocols, for safe practices. You still have a long way to go when it comes to what? Targeting. You got to teach these kids back to the basics. Don't lean with your head. How do you tackle? From the receiver, you can now use your hands. You can swim technique. It's fingertips to wrists to elbows. Don't get any closer. That's the type of separation you need coming off the ball, right? Teaching a DB or a corner, forget the head, watch the hips. Knowing your posture and your position, knowing how to play from the hash to the numbers to the sideline, and knowing how, but having fun. Technique sound. I've always had coaches that say to me, it's not the size of your playbook, It's the plays you execute. And execution starts off the field, not on the field. You can't just jump on the field and say, I'm going to execute. Execution, brand ambassadors. And so these are some of the things you're looking at. Community contributors, especially when the lights is off, if that makes any sense.
I believe so. I'm intrigued. You're the first coach, within the Continental Football League that I'm able to speak to since a particular rule has been announced. So before we get into the Continental shift, before we get into that, I mean, there's people that either follow the Canadian Football League or they just straight up do not, right? So I think the vast majority of American football fans probably do not have any idea what the CFL looks like. So we'll put that on the back burner for a second.
Okay.
But I think it's important because, the Syndicate just over the weekend held its first tryout, and there's a number of tryouts yet to come, right? And I understand that. So you're in this phase of finding talent, the talent that's going to fit your essentially your playbook, your schemes. But what's I think really important about this is the Continental shift is really making a shift. If I'm sitting here, someone that does watch the Canadian Football League, and I'm looking at, okay, that's coming eventually. What do you have to look for in players that are going to fit more of the traditional American version and what is eventually coming in to play from the Continental shift? What does that do for you from an evaluation standpoint? And what does that do you think, to the number of players that'll fit what you're looking for?
The first thing is team, right? There's no buying team. The buying is that we start before we step on the field. We start knowing our hydration protocols, knowing our nutrition, right? Knowing that it's not us as the coaches, it's your player that's depending on you. If you are a corner or safety, you got a third and a half of the field in front of you, to your right, to your left, and behind you. Whether you're playing across, whether you're playing vertical, everybody's responsible for a third and a half. So you can take 11 guys and walk them to their responsibility, and they'll see it. So the buy-in starts right there. With that buy-in, then you take it and go back to the basic. And when you're looking at the basic shift, you look at the Green Bay Packers. I have a chance to go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, long time ago. I was there when the first year of the blizzard, when they started. You can walk out the Reach Center, make a right turn, go straight across the street. And where are you? You're right there on the Packers facility. I witnessed with my own two eyes the bike rides, the community activities. They built a community. People die and leave season tickets in their will. People would rather get the tickets than anything else because they built the community. And it's a part of the buildership going in, what you're building. Now, Canadian football is tougher, faster. The guys are smaller because they have to move on a bigger portion of the field. It's longer. You got 3 downs. You got to be more in shape. So the athletes they're faster. And the game moves fast because you got 3 downs. So playing in a continental shift, that's like going in a 2-minute offense. And then you're looking at the transcendent of the game because understand the NFL is still trying to evolve as a brand. They're trying to score more. You see more and more points being scored. Why? Because some of the nuances that has come, not just from the UFL, but even from the CFL. And it's coming and they're growing. The brand is growing. It's more exciting now. People are watching like, man, this is a more exciting game. And it's attracting people that have never watched the game before. That it is bringing a profound love and a staying point. You look at indoor arena football, how it's marketed. 51% women, mothers, daughters. And you're looking at the ability now to reach a systemic level to where it's level playing field. Coming into this, we're looking at heightening the brand and contributing something to grow it and to sustain it and to keep viewership on and off the field, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, I look at it like I think a lot of guys that are playing arena ball, right? They didn't play arena ball doesn't mean they can't adapt to it, right? It's all part of a learning curve, right? So you got guys that, like it's fast. Arena's much, fast. It might still be 4 downs, but shortened field, much narrow. There's some walls. I mean, but there's a lot of differences there, right? The men in motion in a way that the traditional game is not played here domestically. But I mean, then we're going to see that, with the CFL rules. So that's what I want to kind of get into here, because the continental shift, without getting into all the nuances of it, but I want to take the basic premise of it here, because for even the American fans that do watch the Canadian Football League and are familiar with the 12-man, per side, the 3 downs, the waggle, and all the different nuances attached to it, right? But that's on a much different sized field, right?
Right.
So
Right.
this whole continental shift, and when people read it or first hear about it, how do you see this aspect of the fourth quarter only? That's where the shift comes into play, right? So anyone that's still wondering, it's 3 quarters of good old-fashioned American football, like pretty much what NFL rules, right? But the fourth quarter comes, we're doing the continental shift. Play clock's going to change. The downs are going to change to 3 downs, right? So we're going to see some significant. How do you see that playing out on the American field as it is? It's narrower, right? I know there's changes coming to the Canadian game. They're going to shorten the field, but the end zones are still larger, right? So how do you see the continental shift looking for a quarter of play every game on American fields?
It's going to bring some type of similarities, because think about the go fast offense. Okay, typically what I run, when we're looking at 10 scripted plays, no huddle. You get a certain amount of yards before you call a huddle. Okay, when you look now, a couple of these games, they were down to the wire. They were nail biters. People at the edge of their seats, right? Especially Denver and New York. And you look how they drove down the field that fast. That's a portion of it. And so it's going to expose more people to it. It's going to open up the eyes. I think it's a great product to bring here where people can truly see it, not on quite the size of the field at 65 yards from sideline to sideline, to 110 yards with the goalpost directly in the middle of the goal line. And so even in the continental shift, you have a rogue. So if you kick a field goal and miss it for 3 points and you miss it, you get 1 point. So it will level the playing field for teams that are playing from behind. It's going to force a team to, when you get your foot on the throat of a team, you're going to keep it there. You cannot take a down off. That's what the shift is going to do. It's going to expose the Iron Man football from inside to outside. Now understand, indoor arena football on offense, you run 300 plays without trying, because it's set reset. You're throwing on lasers, not arch. So now you're able to expose PCPs, post corner posts, sluggos. Now you're able to run inverted bench routes, wheel routes. Now you're getting ready to see the Travis Kelce moves. Now you're getting ready to see the high-powered offense, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you're getting ready to see even the Detroit Lions, their revamped offense. Now you're going to see these offenses on Sundays. You're going to see them also with us. And you're going to especially see nuances of that, especially in the fourth quarter. And some people that are truly not acclimated to CFL football, Canadian football, that really don't know, because everybody's thinking, well, it's 11 on 11. No, it's 12 on 12. You got a 20-second clock to run a play. And you see now, you got teams that are now forced to the defense. Defensive line has to be a yard off the ball. You can't tee up. So these lanes are going to be profound. Now you can go 5 receiver set. And now you're looking at, you can go 2 by 2. You can go bunch. But now your receivers now can go in motion. You can have high motion, low motion, loop motion, bit motions, bounce motions. These motions now that coaches are going to look at, you're going to have some curiosity from all over, not just professional, NFL, college football, high school football. You're going to see some of this stuff that you've never seen before, and it's going to force conversations for people. Hey, why don't we change this rule? Yeah, let's just go ahead and loop a receiver around. What if? And it's going to force defenses now more so than ever before, because you can play combo coverages on defense, but what's the one thing that is the basic? You got to play man. You have to know how to play man. It's going to expose press coverages. You're going to have sky. You're going to have cloud, because you can play any cover you want, but if you cannot play man coverage, guess what? You've defeated the purpose anyway. So now, instead of going with a Sam, a Mike, and a Will, you now have to go with what? Instead of a strong and a free, you're going to have to go strong and a free and what? A flashback. And a flashback is just a safety playing linebacker, because you cannot go with three true linebackers. So this is the nuances that's going to change. So now you look at a Tampa 2 defense, now you're in the Tampa 2, because what? You're going air raid. So now you have to shut the field to where you're not forced to play too high. You got to play too high, and they got to keep the field in front of them. How do you do it? Well, it's assignment football. So nobody can take it down off. You're at the edge of your seat, even when you're on the field. If that makes any sense, Mike.
Yeah, when I saw this at first, and I'm somebody that watches CFL. I'm not act like I'm into it heavily. You'll see the corner of the Elks flag sitting over here, but that's my soft spot. That's the team that I have a rooting interest for. I'm not act like I'm a diehard or anything, but that's my team. When I tune in, that's usually they haven't been so great, But I mean, but when I look at this, and it's funny because I grew up in Western New York. And anyone that knows me. I'm not a Bills fan, but I grew up in Western New York. But wow. I mean, I'm a Dolphins fan, oddly enough, because I love Dan Marino growing up. But I grew up watching those 90s Bills. We're talking about the no huddle and stuff.
Yes.
Right? And how fast those Bills play. So whether I liked it or not, Bills football was on TV. So I just tended to root for anybody playing against the Bills, even if it wasn't the Dolphins. So I always had two teams to root for that week, whoever was playing against the Bills. But what I see coming because of this, I see it's going to be tough for teams. I could be completely wrong, to put together whatever they would traditionally put together on the field, right? Maybe balanced, between the run, between the pass. But I see teams maybe becoming more like those 90s Bills.
Yes.
All four quarters.
Oh, man.
This is what I envision the Continental Shift doing to the Continental Football League. I can't say that all 8 teams in the league will be looking that way, but I see more of that for all 4 quarters, despite when that shift, because it's going to be tough to see teams playing a more conservative brand of ball, maybe more ground and pound for 3 quarters, and all of a sudden now it opens up for a team that's not in their personnel. You know what I'm saying? That's not really, all of a sudden like, okay, well now the running backs and maybe we have more blocking tight ends because I'm just saying, like, I see it completely changing how somebody builds the roster, because I don't see the Continental Shift just being a 1 quarter. Yes, the rules tied to it, particularly those nuances, but I think the mindset is going to open up the game for all 4 quarters. Now, maybe I'm thinking too much about this, but I'm like, I just don't see, a more traditional, more conservative way of building out a roster. I see it's going to be a lot more open, because that's just what it's going to come down to anyway, right? You're not just automatically 1 quarter expect a conservative team now to be able to open it up in the 4th quarter.
John
be prepared for it. The defense is going to be built to handle that. for all four. I just see it changing, not just offensively. It's easy always to look at the sexy side of the ball, and I understand it. But I think defenses are also going to have to be built for that in mind, because that's probably where, if you just keep it a one-score game, you're fine, we're comfortable, we control the clock. Well, that changes in the fourth quarter, even if you did control it and you were a one-score game. So again, Coach, am I off? I mean, like, am I
You
missing this?
you are. I think Walter Camp will be proud because you saw that it brought back a sense of nostalgia, didn't it? It make you go back and like, wait a minute, football used to be like this. It used to be. Think about it. You had guys that weren't so big, but still yet that were Iron Men type football. Think about the Arena Football League. So and I'm gonna break it down. So you have indoor football, arena football. Remember when they had a patent on arena football? But arena football was so Iron Man football that each player had to play 7.5 minutes without a substitution. That's the grassroots moniker in the NFL. You have to be able to play the equivalent of 7.5 minutes without a substitution, right? And they would turn around. You wouldn't have an offensive defensive unit till indoor football come in with the concept of remove 3 men from the team. Now you have 8-on-8 where you have an offensive defensive unit. So if you played fullback, you had to turn around and play back linebacker, right? If you were the wide receiver, you would turn around and you have to play jack linebacker. So you don't have that nuances anymore. So now you have the Swiss Army knife. Now you have ends that can drop back in coverage. Now you have either, if you want to go to the strength or to the weak side, is either going to be Sam or Will that has to be a safety. There's no way you can play 3 true linebacker to have coverage. You can go into a 3-3-5 if you want to, or you can disguise it at a 3-4-4 with zone in mind. We're going to trade you off. After your third step, we're trading you off. We know we cannot let any steps get behind us. We got to keep every step in front of us. So now you're forced to a too high look. Can you blitz from a too high? Yes, you can. Now, when your too high comes up and you're in 3-4-4, one comes up, one drop back with the same responsibility. We're looking at the closest backer, quarterback, to the next back or to the next back. Depending if you're on the weak side, the back is away from you. You're going to look, who's your first backer? Your quarterback. But you have to read through whoever's at that line. So if you're going with 2 tight ends, who are you reading first? Because we know he's going to go free. One vacate, one shows up. So you can disguise the look to move that linebacker with an immediate occupation of that safety coming up. And what's going to happen most of the time? That's a pick six. Am I right?
If executed properly, right? I mean, like, again, if every man's doing their job, right, as they're
Right,
again,
right.
so that's where, like, when it all comes down, I get it. In theory, yes, but it all depends on execution, right? It all depends
And
on
the execution is having 2 dogs on the edge to where now you don't have a comfortable pocket. You have to be a rolling pocket. And you got to keep the quarterback feet happy. Now, here's the thing. Happy feet, unhappy quarterback. If the feet of that quarterback is so happy, he is unhappy because he cannot do what? He can run, but he cannot what? Throw. It's not going to be precise when he's throwing the ball on the
right.
move. It's few or foremost that you have in the game that can do that.
And they're deemed elite, for a reason. Yes, they're elite for a reason.
Thank you. You got the Grim. There's the Grim Reaper can do it. You know who we're talking about. Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
That's why they call him the Grim Reaper. They chase him and they smoke him out. But for some reason, when his feet get happy, his accuracy does not depreciate. Most quarterbacks, when you make a move, their accuracy goes down tremendously. And so now you're forcing them. Now you're forcing teams to get back to the table and say, wait a minute, we got to do a Florida State. We got to do next level blocking. So we're looking now, we're not occupying the space that we think we're occupying. We're just occupying play side space. That's it. We're going level 1, level 2. And that's the jailbreak. Level 1, level 2. Level 1, level 2. And you have to be able to play and block in space. Receivers, you can't take a day off. It's responsibility football. And it's communication on both sides. That's what it's going to take. And it made you go back to your bag. See, it brought you back to a sense of nostalgia. Like, wait a minute, I've seen this before. That's why I said Walter Camp will be proud.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're a fan of it or not, I mean, I can remember that one playoff game when they were down big time to the Oilers, and everyone thought the Oilers had it. And even watching on TV, and all the Bills fans were leaving. And obviously, Frank Wright, the backup quarterback. I mean, there's certain things that stick up. It's not just that Jim Kelly was leading that. It was the fact that Frank Wright, the backup, also came in and orchestrated the greatest comeback. But I mean, like, it's just what I see out of it is, despite even falling down behind significantly, they were in any grand scheme. No one would ever think they were coming back. But to orchestrate that comeback just tells you, whether it's a fourth quarter, whether it's whatever. If that type of style of ball, that brand of ball is going to be played in one quarter, and it's, I've seen it before, but it also shows that no game is out of touch if you're playing that no huddle, that very fast, right? I mean, it's just, again, but it's also the way that you play it. So I just see it in a certain way that, yes, that's the best players, right, of their time that were implemented, and that we saw it from that way. And yes, this is, the Continental Football League is supposed to be AA football, right? That's what the commissioner says, that we're finding our space. And I understand everyone's going to be like, well, that's the best of it. Well, the Canadian Football League, is not necessarily the National Football League, and we still see that version of ball being played up there. It just tells me it's a matter of finding the people that can do that. But that's probably what we're going to see. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not saying all fans need to expect, but that's just what I see coming down the pipe. Because of one quarter of it, I see it really going to change the way that the roster's built. So it's going to be probably more of a full game. Not the 3 downs going to be all game. But I see that style of, from the quarterback, just the offense in general. Like, I just see how it's built, the type of receivers you're going to need to do that waggle, but you're probably going to have that speed, the people that have that mindset, So again, I'm not saying they're going to have that motion for 3 quarters, but I also see this certain style of the players, and the offense is going to probably have to gel a little bit. So it's probably going to have to be faster paced, even though the play clock's going to be longer. You're probably going to see teams playing a little bit more out of the huddle. Maybe not all 3 quarters when they can use the huddle, but I think you're going to see more teams playing out of it, because it's going to be part of that rhythm, right? If you're going to want to get in that rhythm for the fourth quarter, you're probably going to play a lot more out of it, right? It's going to be a lot more checking the wristband, right? Calling it in really quick from the sideline. You probably won't be using all 40 seconds of that play clock. You're probably going to be using more around that 25, 30 seconds in those 3 I just see it being a faster game overall, and because of that, I think it's going to be a lot more air heavy, right? I don't think it's much ground and pound.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of, and you're looking at now, okay, think about this for a second. Swiss Army knife players, right? You're looking at players now that are versatile. Now, typically, like I said, the XYZ, the Y is the biggest receiver. Then you have the X and the Z, right? And so you look at, they're able now to play where? Everywhere. XYZW. The W is what? Your back. You can motion them out the backfield, put them back in. You have the option to go and play 2 tight ends, right? Double play. So you have double play to where now you're choosing. The only way you're choosing now is because of the boundary versus the field. The boundary is the short side and the field is the wide side. So you're switching now. guys have to become fully acclimated to the difference between the boundary and the field. So now we're playing at the boundary. We already know we're squeezing everything back where? To the boundary. So if you are a field side corner, you're taking versus inside leverage, you're taking outside leverage because there's no help outside that receiver. So you have to force him back to the field where all the help is. So if he goes in motion and he comes back around, you have to still sit on outside leverage and know there's always help inside, not outside. So now you have your two high guys that are going to play what? Instead of playing in, they're going to be playing what? Out, knowing I have help inside. I can always step inside. Let me cover outside, just in case. Just in case. And it's that difference. It's that one. You always say football is a game of inches. It's that 1 inch at a time per play that's going to make the difference. And it's going to be fun. And you see how now it has your curiosity. That's the spark of nostalgia that we're talking about. That's the secret weapon. I've been around Austin when they had the Austin Turf Cats, the arena football team that was there. We know Texas, period, is the football mecca. Football is the grail. And you gel them with something that's going to draw them. It's going to draw them. Now, we've seen this story before. We've seen this movie before. Remember, we spoke about Bill Walsh. Some of his critique came from where? Right where we are now.
Yeah.
The Continental Football League was the difference that you had the mad scientist to go in, and he was a great counter coach. And you know why? Because if you know Bill Walsh, you know he was never the coach to attack your weakest link. He wanted to beat you at your strength. Who wants to be a coach to watch film to beat you at your weakest? Come on now. Teaching these kids to play from strength to weakness. If you're as strong as your weakest link and I just beat your best guy, whether in the defensive backfield or whether on the line, what does that make you now? Who can you put out on the field? You can get in the F-150. It's going to make everybody go to the parking lot and get a car to make a difference. You cannot make a difference. So we have to be the team of destiny that we don't practice to play 4 quarters. You have to practice to play 6. Because playing in the 4th quarter is like playing in 2 quarters in 1 quarter, if that makes any sense.
No, it's going to be a game changer. I think it's just going to be different. I think whether you're a football player that's probably not ready for it, I mean, it's going to be a game changer. I think for fans, obviously, it's a game changer. I think there's going to be a lot of people are going to be completely, even though they might know what's coming, I don't think they really know what's coming until they see it for the first time. It's like, I can't tell you how many American fans put on the Canadian Football League and they're watching and they're like, wait, what? Why did they just turn over the ball? I mean, wait, they have another down. Or they'll be counting like, well, they got 12 men on the field. Like, I mean, there's times I've seen people like, okay, they just don't know. Again, there's going to be changes, and it's going to be interesting how that comes about. Well, Coach, I want to honor the time that we kind of discussed here, and I know we kind of running along here. So I always give everybody this opportunity before I let you go. That it's kind of like your last step up on the soapbox here. Is there anything we have not touched on? I'm sure there's a lot that you believe is very important at this state, in the process for the Texas Syndicate or maybe the Continental Football League that you believe is important to share with those tuning in?
Well, we're about family. We are about, and it has to be personal to business and business to personal. This is, for me, I lost 3 players last year. I mentored Ray Lewis' son. I gave him his first professional start. Ray Lewis III. And another kid that died last year, Wandale Rutledge. And another kid, Tomas Noonan, that actually got murdered Wednesday of last Thanksgiving downtown Houston. And I had a contract for him to go play. Tomas ran a 4.2. He was like my son. All these kids are my sons. This year, My youngest son was murdered. He was shot 8 times, 3 in the back and 5 in the front. And from fans, it's personal. From players, it's personal. I look at these young men as my sons, no different. And I want them to know that, we're going to prepare you not just to play a season here. There's 2 championships when you meet a young man that come in. He wants to win a championship, but the other chip he wants to win is whatever goals that he set. We want to be a team of destiny, an organization of destiny, and a league of destiny that link these 2 kids. That link these kids together with these 2 championships. There's 2 championships. When you're playing for one, you're playing for 2. That's the personal goals that you set, and that's the goal you set as a team, to be that champion, to be that last team standing. And that's called being acclimated to your why. And I think we're going to acclimate not just the players, but we're not going to leave the fan and the community behind. This is poised for Austin. Austin is a great city. And it needs this. And we need this. This is my healing journey. And I always look at coaching as a ministry, looking back. The hardest thing I ever had to do was carry the body of my son. That was one of his pallbearers this year. April. We buried him April 29th. And we're looking with some of these kids that we can reach, with some of these stories. I look at Coach Williams. A lot of people don't know Doug Williams is synonymous 400 plus yards 4 halftimes that he put up. If you look at Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and you look at all these great quarterbacks, you got to look at Doug Williams. He was the original air raid NFL quarterback. Yeah, Warren Moon, but Doug Williams. And he did it with a crew of guys that bought in, that set records because they weren't given a chance. This is the year of the underdog. Because coaching for me is not just on the field. I'm not into the sound bites. This is life. And these losses that I have is personal. It's personal for us to be successful in the community. And yes, it's personal for us to be successful in the field. So if people remember, just like you remember those Bills, and you remember Frank Reich, and you remember all these great players, this is the sense of nostalgia that we are bringing as a team, and yes, as a league. No man left behind. So I want to take this time to thank Mr. Workman for bringing me into this moment. And it's a plea for fans. You won't be disappointed because we will not leave you behind. So I thank you,
Coach,
for having me. God bless you. God bless you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to join the show to discuss the Texas Syndicate, the Continental Football League. I know that Mr. Harrington, Mr. Workman, yourself have a good amount of work ahead to put together this Texas Syndicate team, an organization prior to the Continental Football League kicking off in May. So I wish you, the Syndicate, the league, the best of luck, of course, best of health and luck, because luck is, is part of health, right? It kind of a building block to be able to have everyone available when you need them. So perhaps maybe down the road, if you're interested, you have the time, there's a number of things going on. We could coordinate for you to come back for another appearance to discuss the state of the Syndicate, Continental Football League. Maybe it's before the season, maybe it's after the season, whatever, however it works out. But I'd love to have you back, and maybe we'll be able to talk about football, the Syndicate and Continental Football Way versus the hypothetical, what we're hoping to see, but we'll be able to see the actual product and see, what it takes from year 1 to year 2.
It would be my absolute pleasure. Mike, I want to tell you once again, thank you. And to all the fans and potential fans and sponsors there in Austin, we need you. We want to build with you. There is never going to be a moment where we will leave you behind. And that's from players to fans to even the ball boy. We're not leaving anyone behind. And we want you to know we have your back. We have your six. And we're going to cover that. And once again, Mike, it would be my honor to come back. And I thank you for having me on the show.
Well, it's a pleasure. Before I let you go, if you don't mind, I know I didn't find you on social media, but if you could just inform our listeners and those that are tuning in where they can maybe find you and follow the team, the league, and all that stuff for updates as the season comes. Because this is all new, right? There's still people
Yes.
still learning about it, and if somebody's catching this for the first time, like, oh, hey, I love a lot what Coach Coleman has shared with me, and I want to tune into a little bit more of that. I want to be able to follow him, his team's journey, and that type of thing. So if you don't mind, just sharing with
I'm getting
everyone.
ready to set up my social media, but you can find us definitely through the Texas Syndicate website and Facebook page. Go ahead and please drop a like. I'm just relaunching everything, social media handle, social media presence. I have my opinion on social media. It could be an Achilles heel for those. It could be a tool of bullying, and for me, it was a personal thing. Because I saw the way it was going for me. But when you use it for a tool to help and build and lift, that's the premise of it. But definitely come to our website, go to our Facebook page, Texas Syndicate, and be a part of it. And I'll make sure I put some stuff out there for you to come and have updates, and I'll give you some personal updates. And please, if you can, come to one of the camps, and I want to definitely meet you in person.
I'll see what I can do. It's all about moving the schedule around, right? So
Yes.
if it doesn't make it for a camp, maybe it's for a game.
Yes.
I know that's a little bit further down the line, but sometimes it's just a matter of, my wife and I got a million things we're trying to do personally. I've shared with some people with foster, we're looking to adopt. So there's a number of moving pieces that I don't control.
And I want to make a personal invite for you and the family to be our special guest. I want to give you autographed football. Mike Kelly, the commissioner of the league, Mike has a lot of experience between NFL and CFL, and
right.
Just making sure that it happens. You got a lot of people on the fence, and we can talk it, but walking it is something that's a whole nuance. But we already see
absolutely
the air of excitement, the sense of nostalgia. We want to bring you back to the first time, to your first love of this game, when you first sat in front of this TV and you looked and saw the game, and it was just an innocence that's there that I believe that we're going to be able to bring back as a team and as a league. So we encourage everyone to get involved and be a part. So once again, you can go to the Continental Football League website, social media handles, and you can go to the Texas Syndicate website and social media handle. And like I said, Mike, I thank you so much for having me here. I know it's been some catch me there and fail there, but I'm here. We're here.
It's all good. Perfect, opportunity having you, and it's perfect to hear from you and what the team, the league, and just about, your thoughts in general about on life and stuff. So it's awesome. So thank you, Coach, and hope to catch you later.
Thank you. And young men out there that are looking to play, don't forget you're bound for glory and destined for greatness. Please reach out to us. I'm a coach of life, man. And based on the experience, I don't play it anymore. God has blessed me with a plethora of it. So I want to go ahead and give it as a ministry. So once again, thank you and God bless you.
You wouldn't know it, but it took us a while to make this interview happen. I'm glad we were able to navigate our schedules and present Coach Coleman to our audience. The Continental Football League intrigues me, and I look forward to seeing the team that Coach Coleman puts together for the upcoming season. That concludes another show. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to having everyone back for an all-new episode of Player 54 Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into today's show. You can support the show and our partners by using code PLAYER54 at checkout at any of the following websites: RoyalRetros.com, where you can save 15%, TrueVictory.com, where you can save 15%, BuckedUp.com, where you can save 20%, ImpactMouthguards.com, where you can save 10%, HobbyArmor.com, where you can save 5%, JustMeatJerky.com, where you can save 10%. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and rate Player 54 Podcast on your platforms of choice. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have discussed on the show? Message us via social media or send an email to player54podcast@gmail.com.